WP growing up, it takes you surprisingly long to figure out that, unlike you, most people cannot sense the heartbeats of those around them. I had always heard them like the faint tapping of a bird's beak on wood. It was like a rhythm. But no matter how long I lived with it, this ability to hear life thrumming like a conscience of its own, I never likened to it. I had always figured the others in my tribe knew a similar beat. That subtly rising and falling, drumbeats and knocking every time you came around another heart. It was all I knew. Was it annoying? Perhaps at times, but you know when you are born seeing in color. You know how you don't question why you are able to see in color. You just do, and then you are grateful for the sunrise and the wild flowers and hues of ocean blues you get to see. Yeah, this was nothing like that. This was something that yanked and gnawed and perturbed like trying to walk through a forest with 1,000 little bugs buzzing by your ears. Living on the Isles, I finally started to understand I was a little different as things began happening to me and not others. Like when Nico Kaplan, my best friend and fishing buddy since age 6, couldn't hear the camouflaged octopus heart tittering under the rock on our free dive. Or when I heard the little babe in Ada Fairy's belly before she even knew it was there. But none of that mattered, and I had made up my mind. My ability was useless if you didn't count the auspicious few cases. That was what I believed anyways until I met her. Step back and give her some air. The voice was unflappable in the coastal air, and my cheeks stung as a wicked wind lashed against my face. I was dehydrated, sunburnt, worn, and walloped from a day on the ship, and I was returning home from the harbor when I saw the cluster of people on the beach. Drowned, I heard one say. What a shame, could have made a ransom on something so rare. The beat was steady, placid. What about the rest of M? Asked another. This one was frenetic, excited. I couldn't help but stray from the path. My mother would understand if I was a few minutes late to evening lessons. She's not breathing. Someone give me a knife. At that, I began to walk much faster, pushing my way through the crowd until I could see the washed-up victim on the beach. I blinked a few times in my stupor as I made out the half-fish, half-woman figure. Then I watched as the man took a knife to cut the net from her neck. Silence ensued as the crowd held their breaths, waiting for the creature to move, breathe, twitch. Get up, move, I thought. A part of me held a practical amount of fear of the creature. I had never seen one so close before, and I reckoned many of the others standing around had never seen one at all. Too bad. A waste. People began to retreat, some with looks of annoyance and others with crestfallen faces as the creature remained supine. I stayed on the beach. So too did the man with the knife. I listened but could hear nothing. Then the sudden flick of a scale caught my eye, the glimmer of salt water on the greenish-orange tail. Wait, I blurted, kneeling down to get a good look at the creature for the first time. There was a vicious quality about them that sent a shiver down my spine, and yet it was a beauty that any human would covet. I looked around to find others who might help, but when I did I found that the beach had been cleared. Only the distant sound of crashing waves and rattling buggies played in the background. The chest of the creature was draped in a slimy layer of seaweed, but I could still see as it moved. She's alive. But I couldn't hear anything. I am, she said. My eyes grew bulbous as the words settled in my mind. What? I looked down as 2 white irises peered back at me through cracked eyelids. Alive, she coughed as she spoke, her voice slightly raspy. I am alive. No, not possible. Why couldn't I hear her? It was the one thing I kept thinking in that moment, the one thing I needed to feel, and yet I could not. I never said anything, I told her, almost unaware I was speaking at all. No, but I could hear you. She coughed again, a stream of water spilling from the corner of her mouth. Just like you can hear them. I froze at her words. You are different, she said calmly. You are like us of the sea, and we have been looking for someone like you, someone who can hear us. Hear you? It was at that moment I realized that the mouth of the creature did not move as she spoke. Our hearts do not beat like yours do. They are much slower, harder to hear, but with practice you will learn. She cocked a brow at me. That is, if you would like to learn. I shall not force you. I opened my mouth to speak, but found nothing of value to say back to the creature. It was then she asked for my help to get back to the sea, and so I helped pull her to the lapping shore. I was still in a trance when she said, You think you have heard the world, but you've only really heard half of it.